Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. One of our members in the Reconnection Club wrote the following comment in our community forum, and it's something you might be able to identify with. I'm going to read it to you with her permission. She wrote, "Sometimes I wonder if my daughter is getting some kind of cheap thrill at my expense. I keep contacting her, but she doesn't contact me. Yet she throws me a crumb in response. She knows I want to see her, but she has the power to make sure we don't." So the question here is this daughter getting some kind of cheap thrill? Basically, is she on a power trip? And in case you're in a hurry and need to be somewhere, the short answer is no. Estranged adult children get no thrill whatsoever from cutting off their parents. That's not why they do it. But I can completely understand why it seems like a power trip to you, because you feel so powerless to end this estrangement. That's a fact. You're not in control of when it ends. It's only when your child decides to reach out to you or to respond or to bring this to an end. So you feel powerless, which makes it seem as though your child is powerful. But let's look at this another way. Imagine that you are on safari and you get out of the truck to take a picture of a lion, and you attract the interest of the lion, who stands up and starts looking at you like you're dinner. Well, what are you going to do? Obviously, you're going to run back to the truck. You're not going to try to face the lion down, because who's more powerful, you or the lion? Your only power in that situation is in your legs and your ability to get out of there as fast as you can. The reason you remove yourself is not because you're so powerful. It's because you perceive that the lion is more powerful than you are. And I think you'd be right about that. Similarly, the only power your child feels like she has in your relationship is to remove herself from it. She doesn't perceive herself as having any power over you. Every single person I've ever spoken to, and every single person in all of the research studies on why people estrange themselves from family, has the same reason for creating distance. It has nothing to do with lording it over people and being powerful. It has everything to do with self-protection. They're protecting themselves from something by removing themselves from the relationship. Now, of course, it feels terrible to think that your child would feel the need to protect himself from you. The last thing you want to do is to hurt your child. It's an awful thought that this behavior that is so hurtful to you is entirely motivated by self-protection. But every shred of evidence we have says that that's exactly what's true. I read a text from an estranged adult child who wrote, "Each time I receive emails or texts, I have night terrors, anxiety through the day, and emergency urination." How powerful does this estranged adult child sound to you? This person is having night terrors when they hear from their parents. And yet the parent of this child also feels powerless. She doesn't feel like she could harm her child at all. That's the last thing she wants. But it's all about perception. You can't talk someone out of being afraid of you if they are. You can only be as harmless as you possibly can. You know, when I go for a walk in the morning, I usually walk pretty early. It might be 5 a.m. And there are a whole bunch of rabbits that live in the neighborhood. And I pass by these little bunnies, and even though they see me every day, they usually freeze when they see me. That's their first line of defense, is to go completely still. And I try not to look at them, because if they see me looking at them, then they think I'm going to try to eat them. In the eyes of these bunnies, I am powerful and potentially aggressive. But If I wanted to try to make friends with these bunnies, if I wanted to be closer to them, maybe pet them, and they constantly would run away from me, then I would feel like they were the ones holding all the power in the relationship. They're the ones who get to decide how close I get to them. They have their little bunny instincts. They're never going to let me get anywhere near. They're going to always run faster and go into places that I can't reach. So to me, they seem to have the power in our relationship, because not only do they decide how close I get, but I also change my behavior in their presence. They dictate my behavior. I look away when they're looking at me. So power in relationships is in the eye of the beholder. Recognize the fact that if your adult child isn't talking to you or isn't responding as much as you'd like, it's not because they feel so powerful or that they're toying with you. They're not even really thinking necessarily about the full impact it might have on you and how hurt you might be, because they are too busy protecting themselves, using the only power they have in the face of a relationship that maybe didn't feel good to them the last time they engaged in it. The only power they have in their minds is to remove themselves. You have so much more power in the relationship than you probably realize. Your child controls just one thing, whether they show up. But you're the one who has the power to set the tone for the relationship. You started doing that the minute your child came into your life all those years ago. You got to set the tone for your relationship, and you still can. We will talk much more about how to do that in future episodes. Until then, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out ReconnectionClub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at ReconnectionClub.com.